Hey, hi. Yeah, many years ago, in 1950, when I was 11 years old, my auntie Ethel was getting married to a lovely man, my Uncle David, who was a jeweller. He owned a chain of jewellers' shops and quite a lot of money. Anyway, they asked me to be their page boy, and as a thank you at the time, they gave me a book. They bought me a book called The Golden Throng, which was about bees. And they knew I was really interested in plants and wildlife and nature, and so they bought me this book. Well, years later, in 1955, when I went in the RAF at 18, I come back home after doing my basic training and everything, went into my little box room that I had at home with my mum and dad, and a load of my stuff had gone. I had trolley buses and eagle annuals and things that were really a train set, even a Hornby train set I had, wind-up one. And they'd all gone. And I said to my mum, "What's happened to my stuff?" She said, "Oh, my dad's got rid of it. He said that you're too old for all that now." And I thought, how dare he, get rid of my stuff without asking me while I was in the RAF. And all the things that this book that my auntie Ethel had given me, because she was one of my very favourite aunties on the Perry side, I was devastated because I thought, well, that's irreplaceable. Well, years later, in the 1980s, I was visiting some friends in London, and one of the friends was called Suki. There was Nomad and Suki. And Suki was a psychic, and she used to work at the Ellerton Castle reading tarot cards. And she had a habit of, when she finished work in the evening, of going to a local second-hand bookshop and having a browse through. And this day she came home, and I was staying with them, and she said, "Pete," she says, I found a book," she says, "in the bookshop." She says, "and I thought it belonged to you." And she showed me this book, and it's the very same book that my auntie Ethel, and I thought, well, it couldn't be the same one, obviously, but it was the same book, The Golden Throng. And she said, "Well, look inside it." And I looked inside, and I don't know if you see that, but it's actually says to Peter, and it's 1950, October 1950 or something. And that is the very book set by Auntie Ethel's handwriting. Now, all those years later, it's quite amazing that that she could actually, and she knew that book was for me. She just was drawn to it, picked it up and said, "I want this," and then looked inside, and it's the book. After all those years, I got it returned to me. Now, if that's not serendipity, what is? Anyway.